You're simply the best Star 103.5 FM, and EIB remains your 2024 election hub. It is now time to take you on the campaign trail. It is some 5 minutes to 6 p.m. and 55 days to election 2024. And for those who desire to represent the 276 constituencies that make up Parliament, the clock is ticking. My guest this evening contested in 2012, 2016, and 2020, and he is hopeful of success during the upcoming 2024 general election for the NDC. She filed her nominations to contest as the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the Tema Central constituency. Will she be the fourth time lucky? And if you're listening to us in Tema Royal Preparatory, Chemu, Community 8 Police Station, Valco Resource Center, Datus, Community 7, Dex, Tema Oil Refinery Clubhouse, Community 9, Tema Parents and its environs. I sit with someone desirous of your votes come December 7. My guest, Ebi Bright, has already taken her seat in the studios. Remember that we are live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM. And as always, we'd love to get interactive with you. So send us your WhatsApp messages on 055 288 0216. Again, it is 055 288 0216. This is your campaign trail. You're welcome once again to the campaign trail. And as I indicated, my guest is already seated in the studios, Ebi Bright. Welcome to the campaign trail.
Thank you very much, Tutua, and good evening to you and your crew and all your cherished listeners and viewers, and to all my constituents in Tema Central.
Absolutely.
Across the 11 electoral areas. So let me send my greetings to Horticulture, Republic, Uhuru, Union, Sahara, A-Road, Low Cost, Black Cat, Ottawa, Jatagong, and Valco. Good evening to all of you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to meet you for the first time.
Thank you.
You are not new to this. You were telling me that you contested in 2016, 2020, and 2024.
Yes.
Why do you want to do politics?
Well, I think that politics chose me through my nature and my life's mission. I'm.
And what's your life's mission?
I think I would describe myself as a glorified social worker.
Okay.
You know, I've always been interested in social causes.
Did you have this mission when you were acting?
I've always had this mission. I mean, acting wasn't a career for me.
Okay.
It was, an opportunity to express myself.
Okay.
Throughout my acting years, I was a management consultant. I did consultancies on communication and I was, doing business to keep up all of my social causes. So my whole life has been about social work.
Okay.
I'm a development communicator by profession, apart from having studied management before that. And after that, I studied diplomacy and mediation and alternative dispute resolution. So my life's work has always been people-centered. But at the heart of it also was activism about Pan-Africanism and, social democratic causes and ideologies. And so I guess that I didn't realize early enough that that was politics, because I came from this whole school and club that kind of had a disdain for politics.
Okay.
But I guess it was a disdain for the way that we had built up politics culturally. And at some point, the opportunity came to address what I felt were shortcomings in our representation. And from my own little corner, not a little corner actually, Tema is a really big deal. And I just say, listen, Tema has brought you up, Tema has made you who you are. I mean, essentially from your heart and your mind. And so, I owe it to Tema, I owe it to my family, myself even. I owe it to home to step up and apply, all these skills and nature into representing Tema Central.
And how has it been for you?
Well, it's been
a
tough.
young woman venturing into politics in an area that doesn't really open up to the NDC. How has it been for you?
I'm glad that you've described it like that. It's been really tough, but I wear it as a badge of honor, because it's one of the things that has broken through a lot of the barriers. As you say, is an area that wouldn't open up to the NDC.
Absolutely.
But it's also my home. And so it's an area that I understand and I love, irregardless. I'm a proud member of the NDC. And so it's been my mission and my responsibility to be able to express and encompass these values and what makes me love the NDC, identify with the NDC. I had to challenge myself to stand up to the challenge of getting my people to see what it was that I saw about the NDC's leadership and ideology that could benefit us in Tema Central. And as a development communicator, you have to apply the skills that you've learned, you've honed over time, and your own nature, and your passion and love for Tema Central. So that's where the persistence came in. So the character that I've brought to, my campaign over the years has been complemented by my passion and my love for Tema Central. That's where the persistence is coming. So you said 2016, 2020, and it sounds like a serial failure. But no, when we look at the starting point, the fact that this is a constituency that had no business in the ordinary scheme of things, being competitive, to a constituency that's actually listening to policies and making a decision based on factors that are outside of ordinary partisanship. I think that we've achieved a lot.
Absolutely.
And this is not just my achievement. It's something that Tema Central is being able, that we can be proud of today. No political party can ever take us for granted. Not the MPP, for whom it's been, a traditional comfort zone, nor the NDC, who's going to be winning it for the first time and can't afford to take it for granted, because we can't be sitting comfortably on that seat.
Okay.
We'll have to work hard to prove ourselves and justify the extraordinary faith that we're expecting the people of Tema Central to repose in us.
You say that you're very persistent in, winning this seat, but I engaged your opponent. He was seated right here, Charles Forson, and he's hell-bent on retiring you from politics permanently. How do you respond to that?
Well, that's a shame, number one, that he will assume that losing Tema Central, the contest in Tema Central will retire me from politics. Politics is at different levels. And so I'd like to use this opportunity first to draw our minds to the fact that there's a whole local governance system that we must uphold. I don't intend as a member of parliament to be doing all the work myself. If I don't work to empower assembly members, unit committee members, if I don't intend to work with a strong assembly and a good mayor, then I must be joking in terms of the work that I intend to realize. There's also a national government with policies. You're expecting that Parliament will come up with policies that answer broad issues. What we're lacking in Tema Central is an articulate representation of our own issues. We've had 12 years in Parliament.
You don't think that Charles Forson can articulate your issues better?
Unfortunately, he doesn't have it.
Okay.
And I say this with a lot of pain, because we have worked steadily to improve the the standard of discourse in Tema Central. Unfortunately for me, I do not get the opportunity, except speaking by myself, to engage the issues. Because when it comes to issues, he's totally lost. He's out of touch. He doesn't have the kind of empathy that is required for public service.
Oh, but
And that's what
he calls himself an employer. He's actually very confident that he's been able to
calls-
employ a number of people, and that will get him the slots.
So he calls himself an employer. But if you are unaware about working conditions generally for people, if you are unaware about the relationships within the constituency and how you're responsible for representing all of those, including those that do not affect you, the fact that you employ people is your personal business.
Okay.
There's several unemployed youth in Tema Central, and that is the tragedy, because we have in Tema Central a unique situation where the whole country might be crying about unemployment, but Tema Central is the last constituency that should talk about unemployment, because we
Of
were
how industrial.
created as an industrial city. We didn't come there as residents. Everybody
Right.
came there as a worker. My family, if you include our children, is in its 5th generation. So I'm 4th generation. My grandparents and great-grandparents were, some of the first workers in Tema. And so this is a dream city that was founded on employment. And not only just employment, work and leisure balance. We basically support services for the port. This is where once you dock your ship, if you're going to get down from that ship, everything comes down towards the area that is Tema Central. We house the industrial area. The heavy industrial area is in Tema Central. And the heavy industrial area, is manufacturing industry, big industry. But then we have the light industrial area, which is the foundries, the repairers, the fabricators, and these were supposed to support the industries. So you have basically the pulse of this nation's economy as it was conceived of. So this is a tragedy when you talk of yourself as an individual employer and forget to realize that there's a whole ecosystem that must be represented. How does that qualify him to speak for other employers in Tema Central? For me, that is what is most important. Otherwise, we would be serving this country better if it was just a collection of individual employers, with their fate up in the air. But you need people that are looking at policies that grow businesses, that allow businesses to thrive, so that in turn, they can employ. And that is the situation that we're having in Tema Central, where our representation has failed to be inclusive. If you represent Tema Central, you cannot afford to be speaking only to residents. You must be speaking to and for the industries that employ them, the industries that are the bedrock of Tema Central. The infrastructure-wise, security-wise, all their concerns must be addressed. That in turn makes them responsible back into the communities as it was in the beginning. So this is my mission. And so I honestly don't have a lot of respect for somebody who is unaware about our sanitation crisis, because it doesn't affect the area where he and I both live. Somebody who thinks that all the roads in Tema Central are okay because he doesn't venture into the heavy industrial area. I'm not sure if he knows that that is within our boundary of responsibility. It's sad. And over the course of this campaign, I've had cause to painfully lose more and more respect for him, because the issue of Tema Central is so unique, you can't be unaware. And you have no business deciding to try to represent us if you are clueless. And so I'm sorry, but it might sound a bit harsh, but I'm also disappointed that we do not have a platform together to test our ideas and debate them so that each of us gets better.
Okay. Kojo Mensah is dying to ask you a few questions. But
Because I'm looking at 2016,
Yes.
when you first entered the race.
Yes.
And I'm looking at your performance in 2016.
Yes.
I saw an improvement in 2020.
Yes.
And so from then till now,
Yes.
what would you say you have learned about Tema Central, the politics in Tema Central, the dynamics in Tema Central that would make that difference that you seek to achieve in 2024?
Okay, so it's been a combination of a lot of things. We've had the opportunity to exercise the relationships. Initially, when you come in, you're coming into hostile territory. So, you have issues of security. That's your biggest challenge. So, even going out to engage issues, it's not easy. You know, stepping out every day is a prayer and a half, because you're not sure if you're welcome. It's very hostile. But that's where the persistence came in. And
Right.
today, I move around Tema Central very freely without fear, because there's a lot more.
Not to cut you, I'll let you answer the question about performance, but
Yeah.
talking about security,
Yeah.
is it true that you really received death threats
Yes, I mean, I did.
in
But
2016?
in 2016, for sure. And in 2016, there was a lot of vandalism. You know, but after a while, you know, they stopped doing that with the more obvious things, billboards and stuff.
Right.
By 2020, it was more private and very directed, you know, and so you had your cars, your tires being slashed like every week, and, you know, some faceless, nameless individuals would try and run you off the road. And, you know, if you know me, I'm a very independent person, but this is where I grew up. It's, for me, one of the safest places in the world. Like, it's difficult. I don't imagine that I have to go around with security. I don't think that they're even safer than me. I mean, because, you know, everybody's your brother and your sister.
Right.
It's difficult to conceive of family harming you. You know, so it took me a while to adjust the fact that I'm just not this ordinary citizen that is family to everybody, and ordinarily we love each other, to where you're trying to upset a system that, as much as we love you, why are you disturbing the space, you know? And so I didn't take it personally, but then it also put me in more danger. It culminated in, I think, 3 weeks before the 2020 elections, when explosives were set under my cars, blew up at home, so the house also, you know, was in flames. It was really harrowing, because my mom can barely walk, and I was a lactating mother of a 3-month-old. 3-month-old, actually. He was born in 25th July. Yeah. So of a 3-month-old. It was very harrowing, and, you know, it's just a few weeks to elections, and that is a very tense period. And it threatened to derail us, because, you know, for a few weeks you're homeless. I don't want to go into the details, but it was a really tough time for me.
And none of that deterred you.
No, but that's what everybody else expected. But you see, you reach back and you realize that, look, I've been at this since 2015, actively. And you're thinking, but all I've done is campaign. The policies and the dreams for Tema Central that you know that you need that office to effect are still sitting there, they're still steaming. And you're gaining new insights every day, you're engaging more people. And some people are so interested in what you said the first time. Even though they appear to be in the minority, they're still holding up that hope that, oh, you could do something about this. Have you thought about this? You know, I can't wait to show you how my plans have transformed in terms of gaining weight from 2015 to 2023 and 2024. And it's so exciting. So you sit down and you're burning, you can't sleep. And then all the issues that you were confronted with, and you promise, I can do this tomorrow. They're still waiting, they're still on the burner, and, you know, it's a whole complex thing. But if you step out with love every day, you know, and then you see the way that the environment is changing, how time and experience helps people to see the perspective that you were bringing on board, and how, you know, the network of family in Tema Central affects each other, to the point where we're all seeing things more from similar points of view than the divergent points of view that we started with before. Also, another thing that's been instrumental is the growth of my party in Tema Central. When Tema Central was carved out from East and West, we were basically the most hopeless part of the NDC's equation in that area. You know, if you see the disparity in the elections results from 2012, that actually put us at number 265, where the 268
Right.
in terms of the NDC's
The constituencies.
rankings for performance, and the MPP's 7th best seat in 2012. So we had a new constituency, no resources. We now had to start to build a party structure that is fit to even sustain any campaign. So we've grown also on that front. Also, you have more people being confident to come out, because one of the things that we had to concentrate on was building the NDC brand, making it fashionable and okay. So I guess that the arts, the culture arts space that I had been involved in, or I am involved in, played a huge role to say, okay, this is acceptable. You know, it's there to be cool, to identify as NDC. Meanwhile, before then, we wouldn't identify. And so that was a gradual process, but I
Right.
think it normalized the space. And then the persistence,
Okay.
you know, because you didn't give up. You know, I think people respect that. I respect that. It has taken a lot, but I appreciate that part of my growth. And I think it was a necessary um, growth for me to acquire, to be able to lead the kind of complexities that we have in Tema Central, but also to reassure people in Tema Central that you're not just making a transition from NDC to MPP. I don't know what word to use, but you know, autonomy of one political party over the other. You know, NDC is not going to be first-class citizens, and we can't afford that in Tema Central.
Absolutely.
It's not practical. But the persistence
Mm-hmm.
and the proof of love and character, I think, has gone a long way also to shift things to the spot.
Are your family supportive of your decision, especially your mom, because you say that she
Yeah.
can barely walk? But looking at all of these examples you've cited, explosives around your properties and all of that, are they happy?
Let me use this opportunity to acknowledge my mother, Pauline Bright. And she instilled in me, in fact, my parents are responsible for that primary, love for Tema. But especially my mother. I mean, this is where they met and their whole romance and everything that I told you about. My family, everybody's in Tema. But my mother is a pioneer teacher, you know, or at least her career started in Tema as a teacher, young lady from the age of 18, she was teaching in Tema. So she's been part of the birthing ecosystem of, you know, the areas that we call Tema Central today. And for her, even with years outside the country, you know, there was always that sense of come home. And she still maintains that spirit till today. I feel like through me, she gets to do all the things that maybe certain limitations didn't allow her to contribute.
Mm.
And, because today she, you know, as they grow older, they have this little stacks of cash, you know, in corners. And
In their clothes.
yes, and so she'll give me, she said, how much do you need for this? Can I give you 2,000? You know, it's
Oh.
funny. I mean, I'm her girl, so, you know, it's my job to take care of her, you know. But today, she doesn't want to hear that you can't do it. She challenges you, and she's actually the reason why I had to take up the challenge.
Okay.
Because she went on a hunger strike for three days, but that is another story. And I mean, she's the one who would be watching today. If nobody is watching or listening, she would be. That's my mother.
She's watching.
Oh, she's watching. I guess, of course she's watching. Of course she's watching. I love you, Mom. So her name is Pauline Bright, and that is why I'm Ebi Bright. No name change.
Right.
Is, you know, in her honor. She deserves it. But my father, I think, is deeply disappointed still, especially, you know, because the verdict out there from people who know and who are experienced and are gurus said, oh, your daughter is chasing a pipe dream. That's a constituency that they can never win, number one. So, you know, what is this crusade of yours that is so useless in terms of, you know, actually achieving something? That's number one. But number two, I don't think that anybody wants their only daughter to be exposed to, you know, the kind of landscape. It's horrible, the things that he'll hear about me and the assumptions, and I mean, that is
In fact,
an
talking about things that have been heard about you, your
Yeah.
opponent says that you're into money sharing and vote buying.
like, seriously. Oh, I don't know, but I mean, all our public interactions have had me accused. I mean, from his own admission, he shares 2,000 CDs, and so I asked
To each
him
delegates.
to not only delegates. Like, he thinks that that's the response to unemployment.
Okay, so for
So
instance,
I-
if my producer Echo
Yes.
goes to Tema Central today
Yes.
and sees him, he's going to
Yes.
get 2,000
Yes,
Ghana
he say,
cedis.
I'll give you 2,000 CDs, but he's admitted that.
Right.
And does that scare you?
Echo is
No,
asking
it
right
doesn't
now.
scare me. It's on public record. It doesn't scare
Because
me.
it is said that in this game, usually those with deep pockets get to make the impact,
Exactly.
and not necessarily those with the brightest of ideas. Does that scare you?
Not all the time.
Right.
Not where Tema Central has gotten to right now. There was a time in Tema Central is when they say, yeah, if you put a goat for MPP, we'll
They would vote
it."
for the NPP.
But incidentally, we haven't had that class of people up. I mean, I'm not talking for right now, but I mean, the two former MPs that we have been, you know, quite respectable men.
Okay.
But I'm saying this is what they will say. But today, I'm not scared about that already because, like I asked him, people are very discerning. They know once you give them 2,000 CDs, they're still in trouble, because what's the criteria? Where are these funds from? He says, my own pocket. Is it a loan? Yes. Is it a grant? Yes. There's a total lack of understanding of even what it is that is being done. But the points that I put to him, you can't sustain sharing 2,000 CDs to whoever, because that is not the response. Even if you somehow had some bottomless pit of money, there's no genuine money that is not accompanied by accountability.
Right.
It's possible that some organization will believe in your dream and put $2 million for you to share, dollars maybe, for you to share to people, but there will be strictures around it. There must be some accountability and sense to the sharing. And unfortunately, he's not able to display any of that.
Okay.
But so the fact of just sharing money is not going to do anything. And you see, what maybe people don't understand about why I'm proud to represent Timor Central, it's a constituency of very discerning people.
Okay.
And so one of the contentions that I've made with my party and with my family and with everybody else who refused to, give me the support that I felt I needed, kudos to my mom. She knows her daughter, but that's beside the point. One of the things that I've said to them is, look, you claim that Tema Central is intransigent. We're not going to shift, no matter what. But that's not a fair assumption to make, because you've not putting the effort to service that ground, to engage us, to speak to us in any way that is convincing. And so Tema Central responds to what is obviously the right way.
Okay.
And the right way is a consistent, knowledgeable, empathetic relationship that over time has delivered results in the midst of lack. I don't have money to share around.
Okay.
And even if I did start out with a deep pocket, after almost 10 years doing this kind of politics,
Right.
what it does is it breaks down your private business, because maybe elsewhere in the country it's not as bad, but in Tema Central, which is an MPP.
Have your businesses been affected?
Of course. And once you're politically exposed, especially the international agencies and stuff that I would ordinarily
Get support
consult
from.
for,
Right.
they're not gonna really touch you, because your network, you can't really move as you should, especially all these years in opposition. So there's a lot of things that have happened on the personal front, that have been very injurious to me. But I've been persistent through it. So what else?
What's your plan for Tema Central? Why should the constituents in Tema Central decide that on the 7th, when they go, they choose the one with the umbrella on the ballot paper?
Well, very interesting.
That question reminded me of a post we saw on social media. Somebody said, if you want to vote for NDC,
Vote
vote
for the
1,
one,
2,
two,
3.
To the 8th one.
Oh my God, that's pure evil. No, but really, incidentally, one of the reasons is that Tema Central has an opportunity now to finally be in line with the national direction. We haven't benefited much from our current MP being on the same side as the current FM. We're looking at the 24-hour economy, and I dare say that when you look at it as is proposed and as it will work out, Tema, for me, is like the poster child for you to work all of that. We're now going to be looking at expanding, decentralizing, manufacturing and processing and industry, to make Ghana in its entirety more of an industrial nation. But you already have the bedrock and the building bones in Tema. So for me, this is your starting point.
Okay.
So it's a time for a lot of opportunity. But you see, the policies are only as good as your subscription to them and their implementation. And so this is where you're coming. It's the ideological agreement in the first place. I've been instrumental in lending my voice and my contribution to building the 24-hour economy as a concept. Also, the Black Star experience, which is something that we've contributed from the culture, arts and tourism space. So for me, the national direction of the NDC this time for me is favoring Tema in a way that I want to put my lobbying skills. I told you I'm a diplomat and I'm a development communicator, to translate this onto the ground. Because you see, part of the challenges with sustainability of projects or policies is the interpretation on, considering the socio-economic and cultural dynamics and the political dynamics. If you don't interpret them within those contexts properly and communicate them in a way that allows buy-in by all stakeholders, then you have challenges which how sustainable they can be. I'll use Tema as an example. Like I
Ebi,
said,
unfortunately, we are running out of time. But
Oh.
I'd like you to outline 4
Yeah.
policies,
Okay.
reasons for which you believe the people of Tema Central should vote for you over Charles Forson.
Okay, so one of the major ones is the TC Connect program. This is a digitalized platform that links businesses and services to providers
Okay.
and skilled personnel. So here you have, because we have a lot of skilled workers, but the job opportunities and the alignment is quite a problem. So that is one of the things we want to address. Also is an advocate not only for residents but also for the companies. So here's a case where we want to also represent the needs of the companies and rebuild the relationship so that they assist us in making our residents who are no longer employed in those industries employable. So they need to assist us with skill development and training in the relevant areas that allow them to recruit locally. So this is one huge leap into solving the unemployment
issue.
crisis.
Right.
Yeah. So another one is under my right opportunities plans is also, of course, the subscription onto things like the Women's Development Bank and Ejumara is support for startups
Okay.
and small businesses, young people, and all of that. But like I said,
And you're going to
it's
be
always-
lobbying for people in Tema Central
Absolutely.
to.
You need to equip them to satisfy the requirements, all of this. To be
Okay.
able to qualify, to access this, you need to put them right. And there are also mentorship opportunities and educational opportunities, scholarships, and all of that we're going to run through my TC Educare. And I mean, there's so much. It's like I said, it's all about lobbying, and the network is important. The relationship is important. The Tema General Hospital is ordinarily supposed to be a referral hospital, not only for Tema, but the wider area. And that is a status that we must recapture. It needs to be ultramodern because it must serve not only residents, but the industries as well. So for me, I'm looking at redevelopment of industry in Tema Central to solve the infrastructure deficit and the unemployment deficit, but also to help businesses thrive, because that will be our major contribution to Ghana as a whole. I don't know if you know, but we house tour.
Absolutely.
So if we
I mentioned that
advocate-
in my introduction.
Yeah, so if we advocate for, revival of industries such as this, we're doing the whole country a service, and that's one of our responsibilities.
And you believe that you have the lobbying skills to get that
the
revived.
advocacy skills. I have the capacity to look at all sides of the issue. I don't believe that only one part of it is important.
Right.
The whole story. So like I was saying, the security issue in Tema Central is not only for residents. It's also for the industries. That's their number one concern. Infrastructure deficit in Tema Central is not only for residents, it's also for the industries because they need this to thrive. The healthcare challenges in Tema Central are not only for residents, they're also for industries, because considering the fact that we need to move into accelerated industrialization, you need medical facilities that can handle the kinds of injuries that must be expected.
Right.
So there's a lot to talk about. and
Absolutely.
I wish that we had a lot more time.
Unfortunately, we
No,
don't. But
we'll have to do a
finally-
part 2 of
Finally,
this.
I
We
have
would
a
really
question
have to
for
do
There's
you.
part two.
something that
You
I have
are-
to say
okay.
about Tema Central.
Okay.
Originally, we have recreational spaces. Those are laid down by Kwame Nkrumah's plan already. Increasingly, they are being encroached upon and they're being used for other uses than their
Yeah.
intended purposes. This is disturbing the work-life balance of residents, from the kids to the elderly. And so we're going to embark on a serious program to reclaim
Okay.
recreational spaces and
Okay.
then make them fit for purpose. We
Okay.
have plans for sports,
Right.
development and family life.
We definitely need a part 2 of this. Don't
Sanitation.
you
Yeah,
agree?
yeah.
Sanitation and sewage. This is like killing us right now, and I have a comprehensive plan that we've worked on since 2019. I'm very proud to say that the outgoing MP at least recognized the value of some of my plans. Even last year, he launched the TC Connect. So I'm looking forward to having him support me to make it a reality.
Over
Yeah,
Charles.
it's
I see.
no,
But
once I'm
briefly,
MP,
briefly.
Once I'm MP,
Yeah.
they have a responsibility. Both the first one because he was a champion for sports, especially Colts football.
Right.
And I think that that's a project that we want to continue.
Okay.
Into the future.
Briefly, as one of the NDC spokesperson on the creative arts sector, on a scale of
Culture, arts, and tourism.
Absolutely. on a scale of 1 to 10, how would
Yes.
you rate Ekufado's performance in that sector?
I think it's disappointing because it's all staged.
On a scale of 1 to 10,
2.
2 out of 10.
Yes, because
Ale,
he's
total
done,
failure.
yeah, he's done a year of return. But
Yeah.
this has nothing to do with you and I. We
20%.
are Ghanaians. We must be patrons of our tourism festival. What
Absolutely.
happens from January to November and after?
Right.
It's not just
after
December.
December and December after, and
Okay.
after the December
Okay.
and the
Fantastic.
next December.
Ebi, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I believe that Kojamensha shares the same view.
I do, and I can't wait for part 2 of
I
this.
cannot wait
And
for
I
part
promise,
two.
I promise, I will not go too far.
But you
I'll be
don't
ridiculous.
ask me about that guy. Let's just talk about that. We're moving forward.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for coming.
Thank you.
That was
To
Ebi
and
Bright.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. You're
The
welcome.
NDC's parliamentary
You're welcome.
candidate for Tema
Totally.
Central. That wraps up Campaign Trail and Start Today by extension.